Hello.
Hey, thank you, Tim. It's good to see you. Where's Mark? There's Mark.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We definitely have a quorum.
Yes.
Yes. This feels so weird. So spread out.
Good morning. And it is great to see all of you here, distancing yourselves, so thank you for that. I'd like to call to order our very first MAPS 4 Citizen Advisory Board meeting. And the first thing we'd like to do is ask Mayor Holt if he would say a few words to get us started.
MAPS initiative is bigger than Oklahoma City at this point. It is something that people study around the country and really around the world, and it has been enormously successful for us, and I have every reason to believe that this will continue that great legacy. You know, you're going to get a lot of background today, I presume, and you're already hopefully doing a little bit of your homework, but you know, fundamentally, I'll just say that where you fall into this process is very important. So don't ever dwell on the word advisory, because I think you'll find that the council and the city staff and the city at large is going to be very differential to the work you do, because you're going to do the work. You're going to be the ones in the trenches making these decisions and exploring these issues.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Christy, as always, for your assistance. There you go. I guess now you can hear me better. So, you know, you fall into, obviously, a bureaucratic maze that includes the city manager and his team, David Todd at the MAPS office and his team, and obviously the city council, which, you know, we will always remind you, of course, that we have the final word, but you will find, I believe, that historically the city council has certainly been very deferential to the decisions made by the advisory board and its subcommittees, because you have put way more work and time into digesting these issues. And that's why you see Councilman Cooper here, because he's here to influence you. He knows where the real power lies. He is coming back around. He's already figured this system out, and he is here to be a part of it as well. And obviously you have Councilman Stonecipher as the official representative of the council as well. So they're here because this is where the power really lies. This is where the decisions are made, and we're very grateful for your work, because we got other stuff to work on as well. The other thing I think I would say is, and I've probably said this to you individually, the resolution adopted by council last August is really the Bible when it comes to Maps 4. And though you will now embark upon a process of creating a very complicated and complex implementation plan, and the number of binders and documents that you will produce over the next 10 years, will be able to fill a bookcase. It all comes back to that resolution. Everything has to ultimately comply and be in accordance with the decisions that the council made last August, because those were the decisions that were presented to the people of Oklahoma City in December of 2019. And if we stray too far from those, or really stray from them at all, ultimately we lose the trust of the people of Oklahoma City that we have worked so hard to achieve and maintain over the last quarter century. So I would definitely sit down and read that about 10-page document if you haven't already, and from time to time maybe return to it and ask yourself whether the project as now envisioned matches the intentions that were thought of in 2019. With that, Madam Chair, again, thank you. You're all going to be very busy, but I know no one more busier than the chair of this effort. It is really a part-time job, and that may be generous. It may be a full-time job, but you pick the busiest person in town when you have a task like that. So we picked Teresa Rose Crook, and she and all of you represent the best we have to offer here in Oklahoma City. And I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm excited to see all this develop. Congratulations on reaching this point, and onward. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you so much for getting us started off. And as we were introducing ourselves to one another and visiting each of the people that you have selected, I think you have done a phenomenal job of picking the right people at the right time for some of the most impactful projects that the MAPS program has to offer our citizens. So thank you for your diligent work in bringing these projects together and this group of people together. I really look forward to working with each one of them over the next 10 plus years. So I think now I'm turning it to Frances Kersey, and she is going to administer the oath of office.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Frances Kersey, City Clerk for the City of Oklahoma City. It's my privilege to swear you in today. So would everyone please rise and raise your right hand, and you're going to repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Teresa Rose Crook,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not knowingly receive,
and that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
And I further swear
And I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
that I will safely discharge my duties
as a member of the Oklahoma City MAPS 4 Citizen Advisory Board.
as a member of the Oklahoma City MAPS 4 Citizen Advisory Board.
Very good, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much, Frances. So we are now official. Oh, fantastic. And as I said in response to the mayor's comments, I truly look forward to working with each of you. When I got the list of who you are in your bios, I was eager to read and really became excited about learning more about each of you and the perspectives and the history and the knowledge that you're going to bring to this body. Because as the mayor says, this is important work. It is going to be life-changing work. And a lot of people are going to be depending on this group of individuals to make good decisions and steward just under $1 billion of our neighbors' dollars, which is a tremendous honor, but also a tremendous responsibility. The integrity of the MAPS brand is pretty, is huge. I'll just say it is so uncompromised and so solid, and our job is to maintain that integrity and administer these projects. So welcome. I very much look forward to getting to know you and working with each of you over the next period of time. So what we thought we would do, given that this is the first time that most of us have met one another, is go around and make some introductions. And so Russell, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you first. If you would just introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about yourself and your experience with this project, or with the MAPS. Turn your microphone on.
Hello?
There you
There we
go.
go. Wanted to thank the mayor and my city councilman, James Guarnera, for being here. A little bit about me. I grew up in Oklahoma City, went to Putnam City High School and then OU. Served on the MAPS 3 subcommittee and really enjoyed that. Worked in the Trails and Sidewalks subcommittee. So, love my city, and like I say, it's really an honor to be here.
Fantastic. Allie.
Hi there, my name is Allie Shinn. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a James Cooper and Ward 2 enthusiast and also a lover of Oklahoma City. My day job is as the executive director of Freedom Oklahoma, which organizes in queer and transgender communities, and I'm really excited to bring that voice specifically to this work, voices that have traditionally been left out of conversations in Oklahoma City, and I'm excited to see that that is changing and moving. I list my pronouns because in 2020, we know that it's important that we not assume someone's gender, and I would love to hear from any of you that are comfortable what your pronouns are as well.
Thank you. Shay.
Hi, my name is Shay Morris, and she, her. I am still somewhat new to the Oklahoma City area, though not to Oklahoma in general. I did live in the Lawton area when I was very young. My dad was in the military, so I have moved around a bit, both as a child and then also as an adult. I moved here from Seattle. I had been there for about 12 years in late 2017, so I've been here just over 3 years. And when I made the decision to move to Oklahoma, where my parents have returned, I read about MAPS 3, I read Boomtown, I read, all of the, I asked for every travel guide that the state put out, and MAPS 3 just blew me away. I couldn't believe that there was something like it in existence. I'd never heard of anything like it. And so when I found there was going to be a MAPS 4, I just thought how incredible that would be to be a part of that. And so I put in my name, and I am so excited to be here and to help this project move forward.
Thank you, Shay. Brenda, welcome.
Hello, I apologize for being late. I know this 4th of July weekend and my kids are trying to leave town, so. But I am so grateful to be a part of this board. I just really am excited about all the wonderful projects that MAPS 4 will bring to our city and all the wonderful changes really that I think are necessary. And I saw the opportunity to serve on this board as an opportunity to really represent South Oklahoma City, all of our community really, our Latino community, our larger community. There's lots of programs and projects on this MAPS 4 program that I just think are going to be just life-changing for our city. So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. David?
Okay. I'm David Todd. I'm the program manager for the MAPS office. I'm a lifelong resident of Oklahoma City, graduated from the University of Oklahoma with a civil engineering degree, and I'm licensed in 2 states as an engineer. This is my 8th year in this role, but previously I was with the city in Public Works, so I had an in-between time where I owned my own civil engineering firm for about 17 years, so I come with a lot of experience from the outside also. I'm very, very happy to be leading this group. Just want you to know that we're also still working on Maps 3, and there's still a Maps for Kids project underway right now, and we're also overseeing 2 school bonds. So we have a lot of work going on within the office, but very glad to get this one started.
Great, thank you. Monique, would you introduce yourself?
Okay, as an educator, I cannot address with this mask on. I can't speak with that. I'm sorry. But my name is Monique Bruner, and I'm a lifelong resident of Oklahoma City. I grew up and still live in Ward 7. I graduated from Bishop McGinnis High School, went several degrees from the University of Oklahoma, and I currently am an administrator at Rose State College in Midwest City. I am deeply appreciative of MAPS over the years, and I've seen our city change and grow, and I'm a proud resident of Oklahoma City. And I'm excited to be here and to work in the area, especially for Ward 7.
Fantastic, thank you. Daisy.
Pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a long live resident of the south side of Oklahoma City. I went to school in Southeast High School. I'm currently a graduate student at OU studying city planning, so I'm super excited to be here and learned as I'm in school and just kind of learn a lot about Oklahoma City. I'm super excited to be here because I think it's time to connect all of our communities as one. I'm also part of Dream Action Oklahoma, a youth-led immigrants' right group. So I think it's time for all our different communities in Oklahoma City to have a voice and come together as one, just for the betterment of our city moving forward all together. So thank you all.
Thank you. Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Guarnera, and I'm also a lifetime resident of Oklahoma City. I say lifetime since I was 6 years old. That's a lifetime ago. Graduated from Northwest Classen High School way back when, and went to a small college to play baseball. So that was how I got to college, which was fun. But I've been doing. I'm the president of Stride Bank here in Oklahoma City. Career banker, 40 years. This is my 40th year in banking. That's hard to even say. But having watched a lot of the growth of Oklahoma City, going from mowing a ditch to having boats out on the river, that's just so exciting. A few years ago, and this is the story I like to tell, I worked for a bank that was based out of San Francisco, and I did a presentation in Los Angeles on our market. And it really focused around the MAPS projects. And to watch the bug eyes that were in the room, people were like, wait, this is Oklahoma City. This is not what they expected. We had a video from the chamber. There were all kinds of nice little aha moments for folks. And that got me excited about everything. I mean, I've been excited about MAPS for a long time. But when you get to take presentation to people who have no idea what we're doing, and I think, Shay, you touched on a couple of those things, it really resonated with me and certainly my family. And then this opportunity came around. I'm on the board of the South Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, as is David. And when you get stared at by David Todd saying, we need somebody from this chamber to represent us on the advisory board, it was like, okay, David's a good friend, and that's how I got here. So, but I'm excited to see where this goes, and there are some pet projects I've got in this initiative, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Great, thank you, Kevin. And yeah, we now know our numbers guy. Councilman Stonecipher.
Hi, I'm Mark Stonecipher. I was born and raised in Oklahoma City. I was raised in South Oklahoma City at Southwest 62nd Villa. I now live in Ward 8, which is in North Oklahoma City. Why am I here? About 15 years ago, I was the president of an HOA, and we were having a big problem, and we couldn't solve the problem, so I picked up the phone, and I called my city council person, and that was Pat Ryan. And with the help of Pat Ryan and a few other people, we were able to solve the problem that existed in our neighborhood. One day I get a call from Pat Ryan. He asked me to serve on the Charter Review Committee. That was about 10 years ago, so I served in that role, and I really enjoyed it. Then a couple of years later, Pat Ryan called and said, would you serve on the Board of Adjustment? So I did that, and I really enjoyed that too. Then he called me one day and said, I'm not going to run for reelection. I think you should think about it. And so all I ever wanted to be was an HOA president. I never dreamt of being here. I enjoyed the HOA, but this is a really enjoyable job. I love Ward 8. One of the honors I have living in Ward 8 is that Mayor Norick lives in Ward 8. And he is, I think we should pay homage and praise to Mayor Norick because he's the godfather of maps. And from time to time, Mayor Norick will call me. And whenever he calls, I listen because he thinks of a lot of things I'd never think of. And one of my favorite stories, we're now entering, this December will be the 27th anniversary of maps. One of my favorite stories that I heard him tell on the 25th anniversary in 2018 was he told the story about the night of the Maps at One election. And the week before, we were down in the polls. It wasn't going to pass. They didn't think it was going to pass that night. And they get there and they squeak out a victory. And he said, Mark, 25 years later, I can't find a person that voted against maps. So I hope we have that same success. I hope we have the city behind us. Steve Lackmeyer wrote an article a year or two ago about moving beyond maps, the next maps. And one of the things he said was, a city cannot sit on its laurels or it will fall behind. I agree with that point. Will Rogers said that if your train is on the right track, but it's not moving forward, you're going to get run over. I think we're on the right track. I think we can move forward, and I think we will be moving forward, and I'm honored to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Bob Nelon obviously is not with us today, but I did want to just introduce him. He is an attorney. He practices with Hall Estel, and he is a MAPS 3 advisory board member, as well as chairs the fairgrounds subcommittee. And so Bob will be joining us. This is his one meeting he gets to miss, but he had a family commitment, so he's taking care of those things. And then also we are missing Harry Black today, and unfortunately Mr. Black lost his mother, and so he is taking care of his family matters. And I know all of us we'll send him our thoughts and our prayers and wish him well as he deals with his family's loss. So my name is Teresa Rose Crook. It is my tremendous honor to chair this group and to get to work with you all. As the mayor alluded to, I feel like I'm a little bit of a volunteer junkie in Oklahoma City. I've been involved in a wide range and number of nonprofits, everything from serving as board members. I was the founding chair for Remerge, worked on a number of different projects, and I'm a vice chair, so on the executive committee for the Oklahoma City Chamber. Very involved in education and work with Oklahoma City Public Schools on a number of different initiatives. I think I'm the only one in the room other than Shay, so we may have to, help each other. But I actually was born in Texas, but I've lived in Oklahoma longer than I did in Texas. I came to Oklahoma to OCU to complete my undergraduate degree, then moved back to Dallas. And when I decided to go to law school, I wanted to come back here. And I have been here ever since. My first career was as an educator, so I practiced education law, worked for the State Department of Education, was in private practice representing school districts across the state. And then I had the life-changing experience and opportunity to work at Chesapeake Energy for Aubrey McClendon and Martha Berger, directing their community relations, their charitable giving, their philanthropy. And that was a perfect place for me, and that's where I really kind of found my niche. And I currently am the executive director of Communities Foundation of Oklahoma, which is a public charity working with individuals, nonprofits, and communities across the state to reinvest and improve communities. So you're probably hearing a little bit of a theme through who I am and what I'm passionate about. This role really feels like kind of the crescendo of so much of the work that I've been able to do. So it is truly an honor, and I appreciate and am very grateful to the mayor that he asked me to serve in this role. So I think with introductions, all right, so I think we're going to move to a presentation of the history of maps. Is David?
Talk to Craig. Ask Craig.
Is he in?
Yeah.
Is Craig?
He was back here.
I was going to, when the city manager comes in, I'm going to ask him if he'll say a few words, but he keeps popping in and out, so we'll maybe, I'll look for him.
Okay.
Anyway, so David, if you would proceed with the presentation of the history of maps.
Right. One of the things I wanted to do was just go over the history of maps. Councilman Stonecipher mentioned some of it, but I think it deserves more than that. If you haven't been here, Carrie, can you start at the beginning there? If you haven't been here since 27 years ago, I don't think that you know just, I hate to say how bad it was, but how different it was. You know, coming out of college about that time, it was difficult to get a job. Downtown was not a place where people went. So I want to go through this just real quick. And I think most of you know the story about United Airlines, and Mayor Norick talks to the CEO, and he says, well, we didn't pick you for the hangar project because we just can't see making our people live there, which was a real wake-up call. So Mayor Norick came up with the idea of maps, and that was an idea to invest in ourselves. Rather than doing the usual economic development, we would invest in ourselves. So he came up with the idea of the 1 cent sales tax. And what was unique about this at the time, and still remains pretty unique about it, is that it is a defined duration that this tax will happen, and for defined projects. So they said, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to collect money for this time period, and we're going to collect this much money, and we're going to do these things. So in 1993, the original map started, $350 million, and there was 9 projects, $350 million, as I said. It went for 5 years, 6 months. Between my glasses fogging up, I can't read my presentation. January 94 and ended in 99. Each of the maps programs has had a kind of a little different oversight model. Now, this model, this group is just like the MAPS 3, but starting off, they had a 21-member Citizens Advisory Board, and then those 21 people broke into smaller groups and made the 4 subcommittees that they had. And I knew better than to use yellow, so there it is. So at the top, you have City Council authority. So City Council has the ultimate authority to approve the projects, approve the various things that happen on the projects. This board, being advisory, recommends those projects to council. And then underneath the advisory board was the 4 subcommittees, and I believe they were finance, construction, site selection, and transportation at the time. But just to remind you what was built in the original maps, originally it was called the Ford Center, what's now the Chesapeake Arena. Beautiful downtown Bricktown Ballpark. Renovation of the Civic Center to a state-of-the-art facility. The canal. Renovation of the building that we're in. So the room that we're in right now was part of the original MAPS project. We added on to the north side of this building and added the ballrooms and the meeting rooms. Put 3 dams on the river in order to impound water so that it would look more inviting. You know, Mayor always comments that we had to mow the river twice a year, so now we don't mow the river. Library was built. Prior to that, it was a pretty nondescript building there on Robinson. And then there was some work at the fairgrounds. So the arena there, that little lower piece was added, and there was some barn work done at the fairgrounds. So a really life-changing renaissance for the city doing that original maps. And then Mayor Humphreys came along and he said, you can't have a great city if you don't have great schools. So the idea of Maps for Kids was born, and it was a 7-year program, still the 1 cent sales tax, January of 2002 to December of 2009. And it was $514 million with a $180 million bond. So this one was different in that it added that school bond. It added the school bond, and the school district up to that point had really struggled to get any kind of school bonds passed. So there were 70 school renovations or new construction within this project. This one was set up different in that there was a trust formed. The OC Maps Trust was formed, and they had ultimate authority. They approved stuff, and council concurred with them, just kind of went along on the ride with them. But there was a 7-person trust. 3 people were appointed from the school district, 3 appointed from the city, and then there was a chairman. And that's only recently been dissolved. So within Maps for Kids, I think that says 180 new buses. We bought over 10,000 computers. We bought all kinds of electronic stuff, library automation system. They were still using the old index card catalog stuff. We did early roofs. They had buildings that were leaking so bad. We did fire suppression systems. We put fire alarms in schools that were built in the 20s and 30s that didn't have even a fire alarm in them. So we were able to go in there. But then we did a lot of renovations. What was unique about Maps for Kids is, as you can see, there's 24 different school districts within the city of Oklahoma City limits, going all the way out from Union City, all the way out to Luther, Little Axe, all the way out to Piedmont. Kids within Oklahoma City that are in those school districts. So they came up with a unique idea that in order to give everybody value in Oklahoma City, they broke out 30% of the sales tax and formed a suburban schools program. So 30% of the money, of the tax money, of the $500 million, went to 23 of those districts. I know Putnam City had the most. I think Moore had the second. Putnam City got about $60 million out of that and was able to build a lot of facilities. So then 70% went to Oklahoma City Public Schools, and it combined with the $180 million bond issue to give them a total of $530 million to work either renovations or new schools in 70 locations, and as I said, the transportation and technology. I'm going to show you just a few slides here of some of the projects that we did. That's the original floor. A lot of these projects really were like ceiling tiles, paint, new floors, is really what they needed to give a better learning environment for the kids. And then a lot of money was also spent on things that you don't even see, like new heat and air, and new water tanks, and boilers, and water systems, and all that kind of stuff. That's at Oak Ridge. Really proud of what we did on this. A lot of the schools that were, as I said, built in the 30s didn't have a media center, so we added media centers. And think about also in 1930, what did the school have? They had a principal, and they might have had a secretary. Now they have a principal, a vice principal, a couple of secretaries, a copier, a computer. We couldn't squeeze all that still in the little offices that were built in 1930. So we expanded office space. We rearranged floor plans. And the biggest thing was giving them these learning media centers at the schools. This is one I really like. It's a cafetorium at Eugene Field. Really transformed that space. So I'm very proud of what Maps for Kids has done, and I mentioned earlier that we still have a project going. We're doing renovations at FD Moon for the remaining money that we had, which was really interest and excess collections. We were able to add that project to the program. So FD Moon is getting a major renovation right now, about a $4 million job. So on the heels of Maps for Kids, Maps 3 started in 2010. Again, the 1 cent sales tax, 8 projects, $777 million, began April of 2010 and ended in 2017. We did finish ahead on collections. So as I said earlier, the MAPS 3 board is just like this one. 11-member Citizens Advisory Board with one council person rotating off. The only difference is they have 7 subcommittees. This board will have 6 subcommittees. So there's over 70 people involved on a monthly basis with all the projects that we've been doing. The other thing that MAPS 3 really started doing much more than maybe the other programs did is citizen involvement beyond the advisory board and the subcommittees. There's 2 pictures there. There's one at the library where we were having a public meeting about the park. And the one on the right was a meeting where we were talking to consultants and interested people, operators, users, the whole little campus area of the convention center, how the convention center might sit in relation to the park. So a lot of public engagement and public meetings that we will continue with this board or this program. Same setup as this board, City Council, ultimate authority. This board recommends to City Council for approval and oversees the 7 subcommittees on there. So the projects with MAPS 3 are the Senior Health and Wellness Centers, the streetcar, work at the fairgrounds, the downtown park, convention center, trails and sidewalks, and various things at the river. Real quickly, I'll just hit on each of these projects. So we just finished the last of the sidewalk projects that were specifically programmed. We have a little bit of excess money, so you will see a few more sidewalks being built under MAPS 3, but we've built $18 million worth of sidewalks all over the city on arterial streets. Now, if you see any sidewalks being built in neighborhoods, that's part of Better Streets, Safer City, and that's going through Public Works. All of ours are on arterials like May, Penn, Western, 122nd, those streets. Trails, we've wrapped up trails, but do have some excess money on that, so we will be doing some more projects. But of the 3 that we have completed was the West River Trail, which connects the river at Meridian, goes up along the river out to the Overholser Trail, which is at about 10th and Council Road. So what this allows you to do is you could get on a bike right here, go out to the river, get on the existing trails and ride that trail all the way to Lake Overholser and never get on a city street. You'll cross a couple of streets, but you won't have to share the ride or share the lanes with cars. Second project we did is the I-44 Trail. Very different than the West River Trail in that it's much more urban. It connects at the river and May Avenue and goes up the I-44 corridor. It's not on the highway or near the highway. It's back behind those sound walls and in the neighborhoods. But it goes all the way up to Lake Hefner and connects with those trails. So same style trail, 20 feet wide, but just a more urbanized area. And then the one we just completed is the Draper Trail, 13 miles around the loop of the Lake Draper. Kind of a combination maybe of the last 2 that I just showed you, but very, very rural, very great views of the lake. Lots of different views of things out there. We're getting a lot of really good compliments on this trail. It's very well used. Work at the river. We did a lot of projects out there at the river, but the most significant would be the Whitewater facility. If you haven't been out there to ride the rapids, I recommend you do. It's a lot of fun. So a few shots of that. The main building there has a restaurant, has ticketing, has retail space, has offices, locker rooms, restrooms. And what we just put out is going to council next Tuesday is a build out of the second floor to make it some meeting space, which will be a great attraction. The views from that second floor are really fantastic, looking out over the Whitewater facility and then out over the river. So the Whitewater facility is 8.5 million gallons of water separate from the river. There's only 2 other facilities like this in the United States that don't incorporate rafting in an active river, so they can completely control the flow of the Whitewater facility. State Fairgrounds, we did 2 large projects out there, the most significant being the Bennett Event Center. It's 300,000 square feet of event space. It allows the fairgrounds to not have a Fair of the Heart in 6 different buildings. It allows them to put it all in one building. So there's 200,000 square feet of meeting space under one roof. And there is the largest kitchen I've ever seen in my life on the back side of this that serves the whole fairgrounds area. Senior health and wellness centers, always a popular thing to talk about. We've built 2 of the 4, and 2 more are in design right now. The first one we opened is at about 116th Northwest at Rockwell. Some inside shots that show the various components of the wellness centers. A lot of social activity. Each one will have a pool. This is a saltwater therapy and lap pool, combination type pool. More social area, a weight room behind that glass. And then the most, art rooms, various activities going on in other rooms. And the most active and popular piece is the pickleball that's in the gymnasium. Second one we built and is open is on the campus of Capitol Hill High School, which is about Southwest 38th and Walker. So each of these wellness centers are not the same. They respond to what the independent operator wants to do. They respond to the neighborhood and the needs of the neighborhood. So they're the same size. They have the same price tags adjusted with inflation. But the operator dictates what they want in there. They all have and will have a pool like the other one did. But this one has a full kitchen because they prepare meals and serve that to seniors, whereas the other one just had a demonstration kitchen. That wasn't their mission, but the mission for this one is meeting room for various activities. And there's their demonstration kitchen also. Social areas. And the buildings do not look the same either. Entry area. You can see upstairs there is a upstairs walking track, whereas the first one does not have that because they had an outdoor track already available on the site. Workout room. So as I said, we've got 2 more of those going. One will be at Northeast 36th and Lincoln. The other one will be at about Southwest 140th and Western. Those are in preliminary plan stage right now, but I'm very anxious to get those going. Modern Streetcar was part of MAPS 3. The streetcar left Oklahoma City in 1946, and in December of 2018 it returned. And not only did we build the nearly 5 miles of rail that you see around the city and around the downtown area, and the 7 cars, but we also built the maintenance facility, which is down by Union Station near the park, right next to Walker Avenue. So that's where the cars are worked on, and that's where they park them at night. And there's 22 different stops. 21 of them look like this stop right there underneath that stoplight, and one of them is different because it's at the park and gives them the ability to pass each other right there. That's a rendering. So let's talk about the park. Park, probably one of the most popular projects within MAPS 3, 70 acres of park. I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures here because I'm really proud of the park. And as the park has greened up this spring, it's really a fantastic place to be. You can see the convention center in the background. We opened the park last September. I'm sure you guys know all of this. There's the fountain, interactive fountain. And this is a view from the hill looking out down to the permanent stage. The lake. This is the dog park. And this is right there at the corner at Robinson and Oklahoma City Boulevard. Convention Center is right across the street. This is the largest project, single project that the City of Oklahoma City has undertaken. It is the largest project of MAPS 3. It's underway right now, getting fairly close to completion. Really pleased with how this has come along. I think it's looking beautiful. The reflection in these windows is just spectacular. The views from that building, you just wait till you go there and look out over the park. This is, as far as we know, our consultant, our architect told us that this is the only one they know of, a convention center that has a park like we have across the street. Usually they're in the middle of downtown or they're out on the outskirts or something. This is the only one that has a park space across the street, and they actually think that they can use the park as part of the activities with events that will go on at the convention center. So this is the balcony. There's a 5,000 square foot balcony, which will be an event space, and we turned it strategically to give you that view of downtown and to block the south wind in the summer. But it looks out over the park, and it is really a fantastic view. Aerial view of the entire building just gives you an idea of the size. It's 500,000 square feet, 200,000 square feet of exhibit hall, 40,000, 45,000 square feet of meeting room, and about 35,000 square foot ballroom. There's a picture of the exhibit hall, a piece of it. That's not the entire exhibit hall, but that's what it will look like. The exhibit hall is about twice of what we have in this building. And those are escalators under construction, but it shows you how magnificent that's going to be going up to the second floor with the stairs and the escalator. So MAPS 4 will eventually be a piece of the history of MAPS. Again, 1 cent sales tax. We list 16 projects, but as I was telling somebody before the meeting, there's multiple projects within those 16 projects. So there's going to be dozens and dozens of projects that you'll see coming through here to approve and send on to council. Set up the same way that the others have. The collections began April 1st of 2020, and they'll end in 28? Yeah. And the structure is the same: council, advisory board, and then the 6 subcommittees. Okay, I'm finished.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Yes,
if I can.
any questions? No? So even if we lived here when the first map started, I think learned more. So thank you for going into that detail, giving us a little bit of framework of what we've agreed to do. Yeah. So next is the presentation of legal issues, and Laura. And I believe there's your information is in our packet, so maybe flip over just a couple of pages to Laura's presentation.
Here at every meeting. She's going to be a fixture that we're going to see for the next several years. She comes out of the municipal counselor's office, and she's here to give you a rundown on these items here.
Okay, can everyone hear me? All right. So my name is Laura McDevitt, and Carol Garrett and I will be sharing the MAPS 4 assignment and dividing up the subcommittees. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. And if one of us isn't available, the other one will find us, and we'll get you set up. I'll keep this brief, but I thought it was important to set up the framework. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to interject or to find me or Carol afterward, and we will answer your questions for you. So I'm going to cover 4 main topics: Robert's Rules of Order, Open Records Act, Open Meetings Act, and conflicts of interest. So with Robert's Rules of Order, this is not the most interesting topic, right? But it governs parliamentary procedures, and you might already be familiar if you've served on another board or commission before. And the city has actually adopted the 10th edition, not the most recent edition, which I think we're maybe on 11 or 12 now, but the city has not officially adopted those yet. So if anybody's a parliamentary procedure aficionado, please reference the 10th edition. It basically just fills in the gaps where the Open Meetings Act doesn't specifically get into procedures for how a meeting might be conducted. Thankfully, Robert's Rules issues don't really come up terribly often. Most importantly, though, is the Open Records Act. So in your positions as city officials on the Citizens Advisory Board, your communications are going to be subject to the Open Records Act. So this is everything that you might receive from the city. So it's emails, even if to your personal email address, text messages, anything, even if it's on your personal phone. Those are things that if we get an open records request, we will be asking you to produce those, and you will have to give us things that you have. And then Carol and I will review, and if there's something that, that's actually not responsive to the request, or if it's communication that you might be having with me or Carol and is attorney-client privilege, those won't necessarily be disclosed. But there is a very clear obligation for you to provide us any documents that you might have related to your work as on this board. It could, yes, if it's relating to your business on the advisory board. Also, there are, thankfully, I've not seen this come up, and I don't think Carol has either. There are criminal penalties for failure to abide by those, but we are here to help keep you out of trouble. So, again, please ask us any questions that you might have. Next is the Open Meetings Act. So as you all received today, we are required to give public notice of what's going to be happening at the Citizens Advisory Board meetings. So this is who all of you are. Right now we're having many meetings virtually, and if you're going to be attending by video conference, those kinds of things, we have to put that on the agenda as well. We also have to give the public notice of when the meeting will happen, where it's going to happen, the Zoom link or the address of the building. And this is critically important, is if something's not on the agenda, no action can be taken. So if it says discuss consultant's report, you can discuss it, but you can't then make a recommendation if the recommendation action was not on the agenda. Also, no communications about board business can take place outside of the open meeting. So if there's a quorum of board members who are communicating about something not during a meeting, that would be potentially a violation of the Open Meeting Act. And then briefly, I just want to go over conflicts of interest. What is a conflict, and how do you decide if you really have one, and then what are the protocols for moving forward if you do have a conflict of interest. So Robert's Rules of Order provides that you shouldn't be voting on a question which you have a direct personal or pecuniary interest not in common to the other members of the organization. So if everybody here is going to be interested in something that's not unique to you, you don't have a conflict, there's no need to worry about that. So conflicts of interest can be direct, or they can be perceived, depending on your relationships in the community. But you're all here because you're active in the community, so there's an expectation that you're going to know other people. You don't operate in a vacuum. So when you are evaluating your conflicts of interest, you should ask yourself if you are going to derive a personal benefit, or do you have a direct personal or pecuniary interest not in common to other members. So you're all going to be passionate about things that are coming before you, and that is great, and we want that. So please don't think that itself generates a conflict of interest. But it's going to be more of a circumstance if you own a piece of property that's being acquired or things of that nature. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to contact me or Carol. So if you have determined that you do have a conflict of interest, you need to report that to staff as quickly as possible, because there may end up being problems with having a quorum for the meeting. And if you have questions about whether or not you really think there's a conflict, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can help you evaluate that. So during a meeting, if you're there and an item comes up and you have a conflict, you will need to announce that and then leave the room, or, you know, if it's a Zoom meeting, you would need to turn off your camera and your microphone and abstain from participation on that agenda item. But that's it for me, and if anyone has any questions, of course, I think I gave everyone my card, but feel free to reach out.
Yes. And truly, Laura and Carol are here to keep us out of trouble, and so if you do have any questions, what I used to tell my school board clients is err on the side of caution, and it's better to ask than to, you know, this is not a situation where you ask for forgiveness later. This is a situation in which you ask the question first. So thank you so much, Laura and Carol. Laura for the presentation today, and Laura and Carol for your representation in keeping us out of trouble moving forward. Any questions on Laura's presentation? Okay. So I think, David, we're going to go back to you, and you are going to explain this notebook that you've provided to us.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is what we're calling the resource guide. We put together some pertinent information, but I view it as a living document that you can add to. So starting off here, this is the booklet that was used to educate people on Maps 4 and the various projects. It's a handy little reference, quick reference guide that I think you'll find very useful. And then we have contact information for your board here, how to get a hold of each other. I've included in here pertinent council action. This isn't every single council action, but this is ones that are probably of interest to you, and you'll find if you go through them, it spells out how the tax is spent and how the board is arranged and how many subcommittees. This is where the subcommittees were defined, and then it also groups on this one sheet. We don't have to go through all of it, but like it says, the neighborhood subcommittee will include parks, youth centers, senior wellness center, animal shelter projects. So you can look through that. It's educational on how the thing was set up, and it's a good reference. Then there's some personnel stuff in here. Now that you are a representative of the city has strict guidelines on harassment and discrimination. You can read through those when you have time. And then also there's a fraud and ethics hotline, and I gave you information on that. Hopefully that'll be the last time you ever have to look at that. Laura's presentation is in here in case you need to refer back to any of that. And then we've got dividers for you for each of the subcommittees. So that's the one that's listed: neighborhoods, connectivity, venues. There's nothing in that right now, and the presentations that you will see in the coming months are on a thumb drive that should be in your book. And that was an effort to save paper, because it would be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick of paper for each of you that we would have printed. If you need that, I'll be glad to do it, but we've included it electronically on that thumb drive. And what I mean by that is, whenever Maps 4 was being vetted and council was hearing the presentations, those are the presentations that the advocates gave for those projects. And we will be bringing those back to you at a later date. So, like I said, this is your reference document. Hopefully it's a living document. Things that you get at the board you can add as you see fit to the notebook. You have any questions?
Any questions? So, thank you for putting that together, because I think we may need another binder before we get done in 10 years, but at least this gets us started in an organized fashion. So
Right.
Thank you so much for getting us started in that way. So the next item is our schedule. So we need to approve our Citizens Advisory Board meeting schedule. It is in your packet just after Laura's presentation. So what we have scheduled so far is August 6th, September 3rd, October 1st, November 5th, December 3rd for the remainder of this calendar year. So do we just need a motion and a vote to approve this schedule?
Yes, yes, and this is based on how it works with the rest of the stuff we have in the MAPS office, and then availability of council chambers. A lot of things came into play on this, so the standing meeting for this body will be the first Thursday of every month.
Yes. So do I hear a motion to approve this schedule?
I would move to approve the schedule.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the schedule as presented, please say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. The motion passes. Well done, guys. Our first official act. Woo! All right, so our next item number 9, is the recommended resolution to receive a consultant committee report and authorizing the city staff to negotiate a contract with ADG. So, David, do you want to talk a little bit about the process that we went through to come to this recommendation?
I will. So every MAPS program has had an outside consultant help with various functions of the program, and they are treated as an extension of the MAPS office. It's essentially additional staff, but they also bring expertise in various things, and they help us with plan checking and public meetings. And right now, I have, through them, through our program consultant in MAPS 3, I have 2 full-time people on the largest job. So I have a full-time person and representative on the park, and they have provided a full-time person on the convention center. So those are some of the biggest things that the consultant provides. The consultant contract is different than what you'll see construction contracts. Construction contracts are bid. I'm sure everybody's heard about bids. Plans are prepared, they're sent out and offered for bid, and the contractors send back the bid, and the lowest bidder gets that. The professional contracts, whether it be architects, engineers, if we needed a lawyer, public relations people, those are done based on a qualifications process. So we send out a notice that says we have this need for this professional service, and everybody who has interest responds back with a letter of interest. We'll get anywhere from 1 to 30 responses, depending on what it's for. And this is what you'll see as we go through the architecture and engineering of the projects. A panel will review those letters of interest that come back, and will shortlist that down to 3 or 4 firms. And those 3 or 4 firms will be physically interviewed, and it will be determined who we would like to contract with. And then once that contract, we've been allowed to negotiate with them, we will negotiate a fee. So that's what we're doing with this contract here. So it is a negotiated process and not a bid process. We started this early because one of the biggest things that the program consultant will help us with is the implementation plan, and that's been mentioned several times today. The timeline, the way we set up the projects, because we are pay as we go, we have to time that with how we're collecting money, and we have to just work a whole lot of things out to come up with this implementation plan. So ADG was one of 4 that was interviewed, and I should add that the panel this time was Ms. Crook was on the panel, and Bob Nelon, and Bob was chosen. We needed to get this moving quicker, to get them on board so that we can get moving. And Bob, having already had experience in doing the interviews with MAPS 3, thought that he was a good choice. But I think that each of you will get a chance in the future to do these interviews with various consultants that we will have. But the panel consisted of Bob Nelon, Ms. Crook, myself, Laura Johnson, the Assistant City Manager that oversees the MAPS projects, and Eric Winger, who is the Public Works Director, and that is by charter, I believe, because the city engineer has to oversee all construction projects. So that was the panel that interviewed these people. It was a very good and lengthy process. ADG came out on top, and we're asking for authorization to begin negotiating a contract with them. ADG is currently the program consultant for MAPS 3, and they have experience in Maps for Kids. They're a local firm here. Jason Cotton is leading that effort. He's in the audience, and Tom Wilson, I believe, is here also. If you have any questions of them, or I'll be glad to answer any, but we ask your approval on this.
So we need a motion and a second, and then we'll move to discussion.
Madam Chair, can I make one comment? It looks like the last paragraph would say contract instead of contact.
On the resolution?
Yeah, it should say contract.
Yes, thank you. Okay. We'll make that change.
With that change, I make the motion for approval.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions?
Me out there?
There we go.
Curious what your non-discrimination policies are at your firm.
Yes.
I don't know, why don't you try the podium, Tom?
Well, yeah, why don't you come to the podium? Christy's made sure that one works.
Sorry about that. My name is Tom Wilson. I'm sorry, could you ask the question again?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your employment non-discrimination policies at your firm.
Well, I wish I had my HR person here to answer that, but we certainly are open to any and all candidates in our firm. We have a variety of individuals and backgrounds, and I'm not sure what else I can tell you in the absence of, we do have a policy, and I'd be glad to provide that with you if you would like.
Yeah, I'd love to see it when you have a moment. Thank you.
I'll get your contact information and send it to you.
I also left out that Melanie and Portia are here also. They were also involved in the interview, and they are also with ADG and will be an integral part of the project.
Yes. And I will make a general comment. All four of the groups that interviewed did a fantastic job. ADG had a greater deal of diversity in the representation of the folks that will be working on our projects. And we appreciated that obvious sensitivity of inclusion. Yes, Daisy.
You had previous experience working with MAPS? Is that
Yes.
correct?
So, and David, I'll let you expand, but they are the consultant for MAPS 3. Okay. And then they also were the consultant that helped Oklahoma City Public Schools as they worked through the Pathway to Greatness, that public conversation and that kind of restructuring and determining school sites to close.
Did the other firms have any experience with MAPS as well, or was it not correlated?
FSB is another local firm that interviewed, and they had experience with MAPS 1. Okay. But most of the people who had worked on that are no longer with the firm. They've retired and moved on. They had some periphery experience designing like the Fairgrounds project. I think that's it. They were certainly capable also, but when all the discussions were concluded, we felt like ADG was the better choice.
Other questions or comments? Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those that would vote to approve the recommendation of ADG as our consultant, please say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Fantastic. Thank you so much. We will, David, you're ready to get started.
We're ready to get started.
Fantastic. So the next item on our agenda, item 10, is the discussion of the Citizens Advisory Board subcommittees.
Real quickly, I just wanted to put this on there and mention to you that the mayor is still working with council to identify people on the subcommittees. Don't know that we really need them right now, but I'm anxious to get them in place. But the mayor is working on that. The main focus right now will be getting that implementation plan, that timeline put together so we can get started on these projects. So subcommittees have not been determined, but it is being worked on right now.
And in conversations that the mayor and I have had, he's wanting to have he's looking to have those completed, those appointments completed winter-ish. So toward the end of this calendar year, the beginning of next calendar year. So I'm sure that, like me, you all are receiving lots of inquiries of interest, and so that is the projected timeline at this point. So item 11 is the discussion of the selection of the vice chairperson of this board. And again, I'm going to turn to Todd and ask him to give a little bit of background. But this is a decision that this body gets to make. We will determine how we want that rotation to work and the length of that time. But David, give us.
Right, we have this on here just so you can direct us on how you want to approve the vice chair, whether you want to nominate or whether you want to just rotate. So MAPS 3, right, they decided to go on a rotational basis. They started with the at-large person and then went Ward 1, 2, 3, and on. That's how they chose the vice chair, and it changed every year. So this is just an open discussion on that, if you have a preference.
One thing that I would say, and Councilman Stonecipher mentioned this as well, I think that maybe a 2-year rotation or 2 years. Sometimes on something like this, you're just getting your feet under you within the first year, and then you're done. So about the time you become effective, your term is up.
Yeah, the city council had some discussions on this as far as my appointment was concerned, and in the past it was a 1-year appointment and it rotated. When we discussed it, we thought that the person that comes on in this role, it takes about a year to understand it and learn it, and so we decided to do a 2-year rotation for this position, and I think that would work well with the vice chair also.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Could we hear a little more about the duties of the vice chair?
Duties of vice chair. Duties of the vice chair.
Well, the main duty would be that if the chairman can't be here, that they would oversee the meeting. That's pretty much it.
And then the other thing is if the chair can't attend an event and they need somebody from this committee, the vice chair would attend.
I have a question about our appointment as a board member, though, is some of them are staggered.
Yes.
And so those that are on a 1-year appointment initially should not be a candidate then for the vice chair on the 2-year rotation.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that, yes, as we look at, if you all were to decide that the vice chair term is 2 years, yes, as we're looking at that rotation, right. Yes, we would want to look at the term. I think the mayor's hope is that the same faces that are around the table today will right. be with us in 10 or 11 years. But if for some reason somebody's not able to continue.
The only other thought I have on the appointment of a vice chair, we may want to wait and do that the next meeting when we have Harry and Bob present to get their input. But if you want to go forward with it today, you're the chair.
Yeah.
Don't you just vote them in since they're not here?
Great idea.
Well, or one thing that we could do is today make a decision of how we want the vice chair appointment to operate, to function. And then I'm happy to reach out and visit with each of you, about your additional thoughts of, if you're interested, if you would rather not, those kinds of things. And we can actually determine and appoint and elect a vice chair at our next meeting. Does that work? So are we thinking, I'm sorry, Brenda, did you have a question? Oh, okay. So are we? Okay. So do we have maybe a motion?
Yeah, you can't take a motion.
It's just discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so first meeting, thank you so much. No problem. Keeping me out. Remember my lecture about keeping out of trouble? There you go. Okay. So we will, on our next month's agenda, have an action item, okay?
To vote for a vice chair?
Yes,
not to rotate.
both.
Okay.
Okay. Clear? Got it. Okay. Let's see. Next, update and status of MAPS 4. So this may be your shortest update.
Yeah, it might be. I've got a few things, though, that, and I continue to talk about the implementation plan. That'll be something that we'll start working on. The remainder of our meetings will be virtual until things cool off. It just felt like that this first meeting, having not seen each other's faces and not know who's who, and it's just easier to communicate this way that we would do this. We tried to do every effort we could to keep everybody spread out and keep everybody safe, but they will be virtual from this point on until we stop doing that. I mentioned on your thumb drive that you have all these presentations that the advocates for the projects did. What we're going to do each month is I'm going to bring a couple of those groups of people to give you those presentations live so that you can understand what their visions were, what information was given to council, and better understand the projects themselves. And then along with that, there's a lot of documents that help inform and drive those presentations, like Plan OKC, the Parks Master Plan, the Trails Master Plan, the transit plans, those things that you need to know that they're city documents that have been completed and they are working in tandem with some of this stuff that we'll be doing. So it'll be an education process for several months here while we really get up and going. I hope that you don't find it too tedious or too boring. We'll try to keep it from doing that, but those will come every month, probably for the remainder of the year. Also, you got your agendas a little late this month. It is always our goal to get you the agendas on the Friday before the week of the meetings. And that becomes more important as we get the subcommittees, because the subcommittees will be meeting on Monday afternoon and Tuesdays. I'm sorry, Tuesday afternoon and Wednesdays, right before the Thursday meeting. So they will all go out that Friday before, and that'll give you the weekend to be looking at agendas. Also on the agendas, we'll start having financials. There's not much financial right now other than some collections, and because of the lag from the state of we get money, we really don't have any just yet. But I hope next month I'll be able to tell you that we've got $10 or $20 million already in the bank. That's what we're expecting to have. So you'll start seeing the agenda morph into something a little more substantial. Really, again, I'll harp on getting the program consultant in place and getting us to working on that implementation plan is the key thing right now.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. So item 13, comments by board, staff, or citizens. Do you have anybody who would like to make comments? Yes.
Asked this during the discussion about the resource guide. Mayor Holt was talking about a August 2019 document. Is that this resolution of intent? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm. And I would encourage you to take a minute, and it'll take you more than a minute, and look through that, because as the mayor said, that is our Bible. And it really does include quite a bit of information and guidance. Anyone else?
I'd like to make
Okay.
a couple more introductions. Laura Johnson, would you raise your hand? That's our assistant city manager that oversees our department here. You'll see her now and then. I've got a few staff here. Darlene, I see Darlene in the back. Darlene does our financials. She's in the office. I've got 19 people in the MAPS office. Carrie Lee is running the computer. You'll see her at your meetings. And Mark Beck puts all the meetings together, all the agendas, all the documents. Did I miss? Who else is here? Did I miss anybody else? Francis? Oh, Todd Woodward. I didn't recognize you with the face mask. Todd Woodward is head of construction. So any construction that comes to my office, Todd oversees. Todd has got many years of experience on that, and you'll see him a lot too. And Lisa, right here at the end of the desk. The masks are throwing me off. All I see is eyes. So Lisa Shriver works with the meetings. You'll see her taking minutes. You'll get contacted from her about meetings that are coming up. You'll see her name a lot. She takes care of agenda items and the meetings. All very valuable people in the MAPS office. At a later time, I'll introduce you to the rest of the financial, administrative, and then all of the project managers that we have that are out in the field working on the projects.
And I'd like to introduce Christy Yeager, who is the city's PAO, and is the person that's going to make us sound really good whenever the media quotes us. So appreciate your work. Thank you, Christy. And thank you to each of the MAPS office employees. This is truly a gigantic effort with so many puzzle pieces that are moving all at the same time. And in my head, it's like a clock. And when one gear changes, everybody else responds, and you do it beautifully, and you have synchronized your dance well. So, and thank you, David, for your leadership there. Any other comments? Anything? So if there's no other comments, I will call our meeting adjourned and wish you all well. Happy 4th of July, safe 4th of July, and stay well. Thank you for being here.